We are live and back with another episode of the Pro Football Pod. We had 0 comments last week. We know that you
Hey, yo.
little baby birds are so hungry out there for the information that we have. Just leave as many questions as you can in the comments. We will answer all of them, and we'll go sure.
What we gonna show?
Sorry, I was listening to the. Yeah. So we'll go over any questions that you guys have next week, and then answer them on the comment section as well. How was your guys' week?
And that's on ADHD.
Hey, sorry.
Fantastic.
10 things,
man.
1 second.
You're good. You're good. My week was awesome. Real good. Real good. How was yours boys doing? We're getting closer to football. I can
Let's
feel it. We
go.
got the Hall of Fame game coming up this week on Thursday. We're there. We've made it, boys.
What is that all about?
Jets
That
and Browns.
means that Zach Thomas will officially be a Hall of Famer, not almost a Hall of Famer. So official. Him and Jason Taylor, greatest duo in Dolphins history, easily.
That's
So,
what's
Well
up.
deserved. Long awaited. Should have been years ago, but he's made it, so we won't bitch about it too much anymore.
Now I had something cool happen this week. There was a big shipment of like lobster and crab from Maine that got brought down to North Carolina. So we waited in line for 4 hours, and the lobster went one person in front of us. So we got no lobster, but we did get a bunch of crab and did a little crab bake thing yesterday and ate way too much crab. It's fucking nuts, man.
Coach has crabs. That's what we like to do.
Yeah, but the good kind of crabs.
Yeah, I like to
Hell
eat
yeah.
the crabs.
Oh.
Well, let's move on from that one. So, we do have football. So much news has been happening, man. I feel like the moment that our podcast aired, like 4 things that I would have definitely wanted to talk about happened. We'll try to get to them in order, though.
That's how it goes.
Always. Nick Bosa holding out. This is not something I expected. I had him as my defensive player of the year, so I expected him to show up for camp and be ready to ride.
Speaking about that, your pick, I wish I would have taken mine back. I forgot about that boy JJ Watt. That man is a menace. Like he could be seriously.
You mean TJ Watt?
TJ.
Yeah. I agree. I didn't even think of him because of him getting hurt last year.
Exactly.
He didn't even come to my
when
mind.
he came back, he just tore it up. He's a menace. But yeah, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa. No, Nick.
Now, having a defensive end holding out, that makes a lot of sense from the defensive end standpoint. Like, he sees how much value he has. He's super young. Right now is his chance to get the bag, but in the very soon future, that's all going to go away. So I think that that's a really smart decision compared to what just happened with Jonathan Taylor and the whole back and forth of that situation. I don't really get it. So
Yeah,
he was.
I feel like that's
fine.
an entirely different situation though, because he's coming off an injury.
So it's almost like it seems like he did it the wrong way. It seems like he was like, "Well, you don't want to pay me. Well, I guess I'm kind of hurt then, huh?" And that just it seems like that because of the media. I don't know too much about it. I've only read a couple of things. Have you guys heard any more information?
Nothing more than the tweets and reports that came out earlier that he had a quote unquote predetermined back injury or lingering back pain before his physical, their start of the year physical and stuff. And apparently it was just something that was just mentioned, kind of throwaway. Okay, we'll just kind of keep it monitored, whatever. But that's what the Colts are using now is so you had an injury before you even came here. That must have happened in the offseason. We're in our rights to not pay you a contract this year because you messed it up yourself. So it's just a bunch of petty back and forth at this point. It's just Irsay doesn't want to trade him, but I think that's because Irsay knows nobody's going to give him the value that everybody's
a fucking running back.
That's why Eckler didn't get traded. Like their value for what their production is there. but the value for how other teams see running backs is clearly there as well. That's why Dalvin Cook is still out there and hasn't signed with the team. Like, if somebody offered him what he wanted, he'd be on a roster right now.
I think Jonathan Taylor is one of the only running backs in the league that can acquire that kind of money, though, like, and ask for it. Like, you see the skill set. It's like Saquon Barkley, but he's
It's
much
like
younger.
it's not the same though.
Because
Saquon out of the
he's his own
backfield.
person is why I say
Well,
that.
well, Saquon out of the backfield is the difference maker for me. I think that Saquon, Austin Eckler, these guys, Travis Etienne, even these guys are about to get paid. Like in the following years, these are the guys that are up. But I think that they're the only ones that really have the value to me because they receive the ball. If you're not affecting the passing game or directly contributing to it, then you're not really going to look to get paid in the future NFL. Defensive ends are getting all the bag, and the defensive tackles and linebackers aren't getting shit because they stop the run. Who cares about stopping the run? Derrick Henry has been unstoppable for 4 years, legitimately unstoppable, and it doesn't matter. So it sucks for the position, and we've said that so many times. I just don't think that they should get paid more unless they contribute more to the passing game. Nyheim Hines is a totally another situation where like he did get hurt off the field and should not get paid anything. That's all apparent. I think more will come out about JT. That's something that I'm interested in, is finding out more about the injury, when it happened, where it happened, all that stuff, because that's really the important part of everything, I think. Now, Austin, you must be pretty happy. Both the Diggs brothers are pretty high paid right now. 5 years, 97 million for your boy Trayvon. I mean, rookie outing a couple years ago, and now he's getting paid pretty heavily. What do you think about that?
I think they paid him a little too much. I'd rather keep Zeke around. And you think they paid him just enough?
I think they paid him at the right time because you always got to look at the cap 2 to 3 years down the road. Like, yes, it might look like, oh, yeah, we maybe slightly overpaid him, but number one, the cap's a myth. And they can always, if need be, adjust his contract and rework the deal down the line if they need to move money around somewhere. But to me, it's like you'll get 2 to 3 years down the road, and that contract's going to be down the totem pole. A few years ago, everybody was freaking out about Xavier Howard and Byron Jones's contracts and how much they were getting paid. Xavier Howard now is like the 7th or 8th highest paid corner. Like, so that's where it's just every
It's a
year
good point
somebody's going to leapfrog.
because of the cap
And
going up, the
it
amount
always
that they
goes
can
up.
do, and so I mean, it's a good point that Austin, like, you're not even paying this guy $20 million a year if he ends up being. So the hard thing is this: last year he was a top 10 corner, but like he was like at the low end of a top 10 corner. If this year he plays like a top 5 corner and he continues to produce, then you guys got a fucking steal. But if he ends up being Byron Jones and the moment that you pay him, then he doesn't do anything anymore, then you're going to be in a similar situation. He's young. He's got a brother that's in the league. I see him as someone that's going to continue to work. Another guy, Justin Herbert, 262 million. A lot of people are kind of wondering where the other quarterbacks from that draft class getting paid, like when it's going to happen. I think that Herbert was the easiest one to pay, and they also paid him a lot less than like the market. I think that what he's making doesn't make it easy for them to pay Eckler or any of these receivers coming up, but it does lock down your quarterback at a young enough rate. And I think that he's still on his rookie deal this year. It's that after this year, then that contract goes in. Do you know?
Correct. Yeah, he basically signed like an extension. And that's where you're waiting on Burrow to come down the pipe. Now, I expect Burrow to get more, not by much, but I do expect Burrow to get more. I mean, 2 AFC
Two AFC
championships, a
championships.
Super Bowl
Yep,
appearance. Like, he deserves more. So, and
exactly.
then the Dolphins with Tua, whenever you just speak on that draft class, Jalen Hurts has already gotten paid. I think Tua slots in as the 5th highest paid guy behind those guys, or 4th, I guess. And rightfully so. I mean,
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. Now, Justin Herbert, if you're just looking at overall statistics, then okay, he'll get the nod. But to me, I think the Dolphins played it right. You wait this season, see what Tua does for you. If he gives you a full season and, you have that playoff berth, you get a playoff win under your belt. Tua gets a playoff win. He immediately has something that Justin Herbert does not.
And
So
it's smart for
that's
both
what they're
sides.
waiting on. Exactly.
If
Yeah, it is.
if Tua bets on himself and ends up being what everyone expects him to be, all Dolphins fans expect him to be, then he's going to be potentially one of the top paid guys. If he ends up going on an MVP type run, throws for how much we think he can, and all the touchdowns and the good efficiency, he's gonna get paid really well. And from the Dolphins, if he doesn't do that, if he shows that he's kind of a pretender and that he's just going to be too durability is going to be too much of an issue, then he will get paid as a Ryan Tannehill's first contract. I'm going to make you a veteran, but you're definitely not one of the top 20 paid. You're going to be right in that mid gap for the rest of your career. Purdy was cleared for practice, so the competition is live. Purdy and Trey Lance. Who do you guys got?
Or Sam. Don't forget Sam.
Yeah. Come on, I've been tooting that Sam Darnold horn for weeks now.
I did hear something that Kyle Shanahan said about, Sam and how he looks real good, but I am not gonna I'm not gonna jump on that bandwagon. I think that the two young guys are gonna get their opportunities first because they're the bigger investments.
I believe Trey Lance will make it out on top. Debo's already said that boy's got some zip on his ball. So you like to hear that from your starting wide
He's
receiver.
got the arm strength.
Yeah. And he's got that athletic ability. I mean, he just snapped his ankle last year. So
Yeah,
first fucking game in the beginning of the game.
And so, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little pre-show, but when it comes down to it, if it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, to me, if they're neck and neck for what they gave up for Trey Lance, I think you're almost forced. Now, if Brock Purdy outplays him and Kyle Shanahan throws Brock Purdy out there and starts the season 6-1 or 7-0, nobody's going to say shit to him. It's just another Shanahan masterpiece. Quarterback doesn't matter. Let's roll with it. They've got a hell of a backup. But to me, like your investment, I believe the 49ers are praying that Trey Lance just completely takes over that job to where they don't have to deal with that. Because if Trey Lance, if you pass on him, you're not going to recoup anything of what you gave up to be able to move up and get him. And that's just going to be an immediate just black light on John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's tenure here, just because of the quarterback position.
I'll disagree only because if they take the number 3 overall pick and they waste it, but it's because they took the last pick in the draft and made him into a superstar, no one's going to give a fuck about Trey Lance.
And if Brock Purdy, like I said, if he takes the job and Trey Lance is the odd man out and you just trade him for what you can get, who cares? They don't care. They've got their quarterback. Who the fuck cares?
There's enough teams that could trade for Trey Lance.
So that's what I'm saying, though, is you're hoping Lance takes that job and you're hoping Purdy wasn't just end of the season. Nobody had any film on them. Most people were already worn out and tired at that point in the year. So how much was he capitalizing on that? It's those kind of things. Like, to me, the easiest path for them is Trey Lance is just like, yo, this is my job. I'm taking it, and just doesn't look back.
As well as Purdy, like, I feel like he has his ceiling. Like, he can only give you so much. Like, he doesn't have the legs to scramble and do all these other magical things, extend plays. Like, he's only giving you so much. And you see the league's changing. You need quarterbacks in the league like Trey Lance. You're not going to succeed without it.
If Purdy can show that he's got good timing and the ability to be accurate, if he can play a very similar style game to Aaron Rodgers, and he emulates that type of like mobile enough,
also
but
not the
deadly
size
accurate. He's not too small. He's like 6'2", 6'1". Like Aaron Rodgers isn't big. Aaron Rodgers is 6'1", and like
he holds his own though. He holds his own just like Tom Brady and just like Peyton Manning did.
Well, Brady's 6'4", Peyton Manning's like 6'3". Like those guys were towers at the position. I think that Purdy definitely could win it. based off of what he did last year. But what he did last year, if we're being honest, was he was just really efficient with the ball, didn't give the ball away a lot. It's not like he was pushing it down the field and winning games on his own. So Trey Lance gives you that. Brock Purdy doesn't. I think that you're right, Justin. They're going to want Trey Lance to work out so hard that they're probably going to force it a little bit. Also, with the running style of the 49ers, having someone like Trey Lance makes your running game that much better. Now you have to worry about the Lamar Jackson threat on
Bro,
top
remember when
of.
they had Colin Kaepernick? That shit
And
was
now they got Christian
scary.
McCaffrey. Got the best running back
Straight
in the
up.
league. Also the best pass catcher almost all together in the league. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's a top 5 pass catcher. Now we did have a couple other injuries. I kind of want to blow through some of them.
That
Joe
boy G
Burrow had a
Wilson.
lower calf injury, and then Garrett Wilson had an ankle. Ramsey is going to be gone until likely December. He said that he's going to beat that time by at least a month because he's an alien. So I'd love to see it happen.
I wouldn't expect him anytime before the week 11 bye. It just doesn't make sense to bring him in
Exactly.
before that.
But right after that, it seems like that's kind of when
Yeah.
he's going to be coming in. Garrett Wilson ankle doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal from what I've heard. They're just going to be really cautious with him until the season now
Don't
because
like to
of the
see that
ankle.
though.
Apparently, it's
It
a
sucks.
low
Hate to see
ankle
that.
and not a high ankle, so
Which is
it's
better.
it's much better. I've had a high
Yeah.
ankle sprain; those are awful. I would rather my leg just have broken. It sucked, bro. So like a low
Now-
ankle sprain, you rolled your ankle a little bit, he'll be fine.
Rumor has it that the Bengals kept receiving calf implants in the mail. Right after Joe Burrow's calf went down, they just kept receiving more and more calves. Like, is this one the
Take
right
'em.
size? So
Take him. I'm not worried about. He might miss what if he even misses
He's
like
gonna be back.
the first 3 weeks of the regular season. How much does that
He's
really
not even
do to
gonna.
their season for the year? Like, you
You
know what
really
I
think
mean?
he's gonna
So
miss games?
Nah, he'll
that's
be
what I'm
fine.
saying. I don't think he'll miss
Yeah,
any
I don't
games,
think he's
but
missing.
that's what I'm saying. At the most, if he were to miss like the first 3 weeks, does it really matter? Are Bengals fans like absolutely panicking? I don't think so.
That Jimmy G is at practice and he's fully practicing, so he'll have the chance to show what he's capable of in the preseason. I think that based off of how he looks, it's really going to be dependent on if I take anybody besides Josh Jacobs from that team, like fantasy wise. Austin obviously has so much disdain for what I just said.
I wouldn't take anybody from that team.
Yeah, like I
If
said,
he's
I
a
want to
quarterback.
see first.
I won't say
Well,
that
you
about
Josh
another
can't. You
team
McDaniels-
ever
can't
again.
see. It's gonna be too
Josh
late by then.
I won't
McDaniels
ever say that.
had the best offense for like 15 fucking years in a row, man, with
He also
Tom
had
Brady throwing the ball.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking
Jimmy G
Brady.
clearly is not Tom
seven and a
Brady.
half yards. I mean, Bill Belichick thought he was better, and
But I mean, he does
We'll
have
see.
Hunter Renfro. So
I guarantee he's injured by
white boy
week
wonder
3.
out there.
I'm just
they've
saying.
got fucking Devontae Adams. What are you talking about? He's got the best receiver in football.
Yeah, Hunter Renfro.
And finally, San Francisco news: Frank Gore, legend of the Bay Area, added as some sort of football operations manager, some sort of like John Elway type role. So I love to see it. This man, for those that don't know, was one of the only running backs to ever rush for 1,000 yards 10 years in a row. Like, he just kept doing it in a league that was slowly transitioning to the pass. So I think he should be able to add some value. Plus, his son's probably about to enter the league, right? Isn't his kid?
Yeah,
in
I think he's
college?
about a year away. I think he's got one more year, and then he'll probably try to enter.
Hell yeah. I love seeing it. Weird news. Has anything more come out about Bronny James and the heart attack? The cardiac arrest?
He's been released from the hospital. He's at home with his family. That's about it. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid, so you're not going to get much information on him because LeBron and them aren't trying to have it out there in the media and stuff either.
Exactly.
Which I get it. So I mean, it's whatever. If he ends up playing this season, okay. If not, then okay. I mean, it's whatever his family and LeBron literally has access to the best physical doctors in the world. So
Yep.
he'll be fine as far as
It's just-
figuring out what he wants to do.
It's kind of scary if you think of like This man is a billionaire. His father's a billionaire and the greatest athlete of all time. And now his son might potentially have a weak heart and not be able to like compete at a high level in the NBA. And I mean, it says a lot for all the people out there that are just regular people that are working and training to try to reach that type of a goal.
Mm-hmm.
What type of strain it puts on your body, like in actuality. Well, before we get into the NFC East player predictions, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Tulsi Rose Tea. That's tulsirosetea.com, where you can find over 100 different flavors of tea and tea accessories. They've got French presses to make the tea. They got all the teas and honeys that you need. tulsirosetea.com. They deliver, drop ship, and all that nonsense. But first things first, I think we should talk about the team that we all think is going to win the division, Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go with
What
them
the
first.
shit?
Oh, I thought I was ready to say Commanders.
Y'all are just
Hey, Riverboat Ron, he could have a bit of a turnaround. All it takes is a quarterback, which I don't think the Commanders have.
Sam Howell.
Now, Hurts, quarterback 3 off the board. I think last year he was probably like quarterback 7 or 8 off the board. And if you were able to get Hurts at that time, you were able to get a lot of value. Quarterback 3 is right where he should be going. I think that's where he'll land at the end of the year as well. But average draft position of 23 overall. I don't like taking my quarterbacks in the early rounds, even if they're going to be a potential running back at the quarterback position.
Even if you could compare him up with AJ Brown round 2 and 3, you don't like that
I
little
just
duo?
you're saying pair them. Pair
Pair
them
him up
up.
for fantasy wise, yeah.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
stack action.
Stack action.
I honestly probably would rather go Devonta Smith, but Devonta Smith is going really early
I mean,
too.
you're getting good value there later on. Like instead of having to
See, I
do an
don't
early
know if you're
draft pick
able
on
to
AJ Brown, you
swing
can get another
like
running back.
just going off of their ADPs. I don't know if you're able to swing AJ Brown and then Jalen Hurts unless you
You went
pick
1-2.
late in the first round and you went AJ first and then Jalen in the second. Like
Yep.
uh Jalen, I don't expect him to last till the third round. He's one of the few quarterbacks I'd be okay with taking early if he was just sitting there. Like it'd be hard to absolutely pass on him just because of what he gives you in the 760 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns. That alone would make him what, like a top 25
25.
option at fantasy running back? Like,
Yeah.
and then you've got the passing in with it and the weapons he has to throw to. Like, to me, he's one of the few guys that warrants the actual like early pick of a quarterback.
I feel like you really need to get pushed into a corner, though. You can't be looking to make the Jalen Hurts pick in this early second round. But if like you get forced into it, where a lot of the early running backs are gone, and a lot of the early receivers, the best ones are all gone. You're at the end of the second round, and he's there. I think that you take him. But if you end up getting like Kelsey in the first, there's no fucking way that you need to be taking a quarterback in the second or third round. You need to fill out your position groups. It's super important to have value later. Now, on the stack, I think that I would way rather, instead of taking A.J. Brown, take Jalen Waddle and then get Tua much later in the draft. Because of the injury concern, he's going to go in the third to fifth round. And I think that's a much better area to take my quarterback. Yes, there's more of a concern. There's a chance that he doesn't
Big
end as
risk.
well, but there's a chance that he ends quarterback 1. So I see
Right now, I think Tua's ADP is quarterback 12.
Yeah, he's one of the last
So
big
you can
quarterbacks
get
going off.
Tua in like the 7th or 8th round. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, as far as where we're, just talking on the Eagles, I mean, to me, it would be easier to try to stack Hurts with Devontae Smith
Mhm.
because Devontae Smith still has the potential to be there in the third round. So, if you did go running back in the first and you decided to go Hurts in the second, Devontae Smith in the third, you're building out a hell of a roster right there. So, I mean, I
also
like I like that route instead of the AJ Brown, just because of how much you're reaching for both of those picks at that point.
So obviously the best quarterback tight end stack is Kelsey and Mahomes, right? I
Mahomes.
think second best is Lamar, Mark Andrews. Third best is very easily Goddard, Hurts for me, especially with how late you can get Goddard. I think Goddard as tight end 7 is way undervalued. He's going to have a lot of value unless someone like Zach Ertz ends up getting traded there. There was talk, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that there was some rumors about the Cardinals letting Ertz go, and that's a team that he would absolutely go play for. Goddard's value will get hurt if that happens, but if it doesn't, then 63 for average draft position, I'm absolutely excited about Goddard. Devonta Smith is still a bit early for me, man. I think he's going to have a lot of value, but he hasn't like popped off enough. He and AJ Brown being there to cut into his like
So AJ and Devonte Smith both played 17 games last year, and as far as cutting into him, AJ 145 targets, Smitty 136, AJ 88 receptions, Smitty 95. So
mhm.
Smitty's catch rate was much better.
Yeah,
Now, AJ had 300 more, exactly 300 more yards. He had 1,496.
who had the
Devonte Smith
touchdowns?
1,196. AJ had 11 touchdowns. Devonte Smith had 7. So, like for me, Devonte Smith
Seven's
that
a lot higher
season
than I thought.
as a second year for his second year, to me, that I mean, as much as us as Dolphins fans talk about Jalen Waddle and stuff, like as an Eagles fan, I'd be hyping up Devonte Smith just as much because it shows right there that with AJ Brown on the field, that really doesn't cut into him. It cuts into all the other guys because there's a significant drop off in production when you
So
go to
I
Quez Watkins.
and I think that Swift is going to see a lot of hurt from that. People that expect Swift to be solid right now, you're getting him at 25, running back 25, 66th average draft position. That's probably decent value because he's still a starter. He's still going to get opportunities. He's going to work out of the pass, but he's not going to be the DeAndre Swift of last year, even if he stayed healthy all year. The Eagles just aren't going that route. I think Goddard is probably my most valuable player that I'm going for Eagles wise. Uh, Devonta Smith, honestly, you make a lot of good points. I didn't realize he had 7 touchdowns. If he can get to double digit touchdowns, then he's absolutely at the right
Your only
ADP.
issue, and Randy Miller in the chat pointed it out here. The Eagles do not pass enough. I mean, there were so many games, especially at the end, which you don't know how much it was. Them nursing Jalen Hurts back and stuff, but there were so many games at the end of the year where he literally threw 13 passes for the entire game. Now, when you're as a team, you're running for 300 yards in the game. That really doesn't matter. But for fantasy aspects, it does hurt you towards the end when you're just preying on a 75-yard bomb to break open just so you have a decent fantasy output. So, like,
Which
I do
AJ
understand,
Brown
like, this, and we
does give
talk
you
about
that.
how much Jalen Hurts is a vulture. I wouldn't touch any of the running backs for the Eagles because of that.
Yeah, that's why I would only touch Jalen Hurts because you know he's going to have the ball in his hands and he loves to run, loves to scramble for
You just
touchdowns.
you just have to take him like right at the turn on the second round. It's rough. I mean, I have
It's
had
a
so much
quarterback I'm finally
success.
okay with doing though, even though it's an Eagles quarterback.
Yeah.
Like it's someone that's okay with doing. You know he's got the legs to just power through people. He shows you
Now
that.
Rashad Penny, 124 ADP. I think that he might in like really deep leagues. He's probably worth rostering just because of DeAndre Swift going down. Once he goes down, then you have the starting running back for the Eagles. I just don't expect much from him.
Penny's someone who's always been injury prone though, man. You can't really trust
Has
him
he has,
every
but
single year.
he at least gets his production out before he gets hurt. That's why he always stayed with
Yeah, he's gonna.
Seattle. Same with
I
Chris
feel like he's a
Carson.
good fantasy, like a flyer. Waiver
That's
wire
what I
pick.
mean. It's something to keep an eye on. It's a player to not forget that he exists. Like we said, we don't
Yeah.
value the running backs for the Eagles very highly, but this is a potential. It's not a sleeper. It's not someone that you have to grab. But if he's there at the end of the rounds, in like you know, not a standard draft in a deep league, then I would look at something like that.
Now,
Um,
something we didn't mention is how they did lose their offensive defensive coordinator. Like their offense might run differently this year. Like who knows how it's going to come out looking like.
I don't think we expect
I
too
mean,
much different on the offensive side
yeah, I
because
mean they should run it
Shane,
the same way.
Well, they promoted within, so
yeah.
yeah, they'll generally keep so like the same philosophy. So before we move on here, what do you guys got for like the record predictions here for the Eagles?
Got them losing 4 games, 2 of them to the Cowboys.
So the Cowboys are sweeping them. Got it. So
Hell yeah,
you've got them
baby.
going 13-4.
Yes, sir.
I think that they might drop a couple more games than that. I think that they're gonna be the one of the top two teams in the NFC, just like they were last year. I think that they're not just gonna walk out of the division. The Cowboys have shown that they're just increasing production on offense and defense. So I think that they do have a bit of a rough stretch to like make it out of the division. I don't think the Giants or the Commanders are going to give them any type of a challenge, though. Not this year. The Giants paying Danny Dimes was really, I don't think, a smart decision. I think that it's going to bite them in the ass for the next 4 years.
I think they lose to the Viking. Not the Vikings. The Ravens, the Dolphins, the Cowboys twice. That's their 4 losses for me.
You
See,
think the Dolphins go on Monday night into Philly and fucking whoop that
Oh
ass?
yeah.
I appreciate the
Oh yeah,
Hey,
optimism.
baby.
hey, I love it. I love that take.
I think 12-5 to me, 12-5 is about the floor just because of how weak the NFC is just as a whole. So I'd
That's a good
see
call.
about 12-5 is the floor. 13-4 would not be shocked. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at 14-3 for them. Like the NFC's weak as hell,
They
and
are,
the Eagles
but they
just
also have that
top to
what it
bottom have one
takes.
of the best
What it
rosters.
they have what it takes to like hold the Eagles, and it's a great D line. You're talking about this run game being so great, and what it takes to stop that is a good D line and good defense, and all 3 of these teams have that, and are only getting better with it. So
So
That's not a
who's
bad point.
next on the list here?
We'll cover the. I mean, I think the Cowboys finished second. I think we can go down the list in the order.
we
So,
first, baby, we first.
hey, no gang signs.
Ain't no wild cards.
So Cowboys. Uh, you got Dak, you got Pollard, you got CD, Brandon Cooks, and Michael
CD
Gallup.
Fields,
Those are kind of their big ones. Now they draft a tight end as well.
Yeah, they drafted Jake Shoemaker from
Shoemaker,
Michigan.
Michigan
And then they
boy.
also drafted Deuce Vaughn and signed Ronald Jones II, Rojo.
Which
Deuce
I
is
think I
who
saw
I'm
something
interested in.
today about Rojo. I think he's dealing with injuries right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's to be
He's
expected.
third
He's
on
an
the
older
depth
running
chart
back.
as of today.
Yeah, exactly.
That boy banged up from Tampa Bay. But
He was
Now,
in Kansas City last year.
so I want to talk about quarterback first. I
Ooh.
think that I see Dak as the past Phillip Rivers. 10th quarterback off the board, average draft position 81 is a little bit early for the past Phillip Rivers, but Dak Prescott, if you take away the last 2 years, for 3 years prior to that, he was a top 3 fantasy quarterback. Just fantasy. He does throw too many interceptions to win football games in the past. That's what his big issue was. But from a fantasy perspective, this man puts up fucking yards. He puts up touchdowns. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to take their foot off the pedal at all. I think letting Zeke go just shows how much they're trying to like cut the fat and really like trim up and be a lean offense. So
Well,
I
that's
think
not.
Dak beats 10 easily. I'm not saying that Zeke's fat. I'm saying that like he's not a quick get the ball in his hands and then make him make moves like Pollard and
Well, you know what's
CD is.
baffling is to me is like what he did and showed you last year, he was the number one guy in the red zone. When you handed him the rock, he's gonna score a touchdown. Like feed him, he's gonna score it. It was crazy to me that we could just let a person like that go. Like you feel that secure in the red zone with what the weapons we have, like, and it's not about the money anymore because look how much they just paid Trayvon Diggs. Like that you don't think they could have worked
Well,
out some
that's
deal to keep him?
why is they took Zeke's money and gave it to Trayvon
Yeah,
because
but that's
Trayvon is
that's
more
my point.
valuable.
Is I don't think he shows that much value
Oh,
to take
also,
away Zeke.
just popped into my head here. The Cowboys, I mean, just non-fantasy related, unless you're taking the Cowboys defense, which they are up there.
Hell
They
yeah.
brought in Stephon Gilmore this offseason as well,
Hell
remember?
yeah.
It's like the
Very good point.
Cowboys defense is looking legit, moving, and the depth chart, he is labeled as the starting defensive end, Michael Parsons. I love that move, putting him at specific pass rusher. Leave him alone with all the linebacking nonsense. Quit doing that. We're tired of seeing it. Just let him do what he does and just unleash. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see Micah Parsons finish with a 22 and a half sack season this year. And I'm
Straight up.
pretty sure that's pushing for the record.
I can see that.
Like, he was our pick for defensive player of the year, and I'm barring an injury, I'm not going to change from that. Like, he's
This man
on
plays
that
through injuries.
trajectory. He's just an absolute freak of nature. So, fantasy wise for that, like I said, if you're playing with team defenses, absolutely the Cowboys would be one of the top 3 teams I'm looking at, just because of the turnover potential they have with that pass rush and those corners being ball hawking guys like they are, bro.
Seriously. I mean, it was what, 10 interceptions? No, that was Xavier Howard. How many did he have his rookie year though? Trayvon Diggs.
Rayvon, I think he finished with
9.
8 or 9. Like,
Yeah.
he got close. He got very close. And I mean, Stephon, he's an ex-defensive player of the year. Now, athletically, he's in his early 30s still, so he's kind of on the decline in the NFL age, but he's that mental leadership that he can give to Trayvon. To me, it's the same thing as to why the Dolphins brought in Jalen Ramsey. Like, he's just even with Jalen being hurt, his knowledge of the game, what he gives to you, is better than anything with him not being on the roster at all. So I love that move. And yeah, I'm all in on Pollard. I'm all in on CD this year. If Dak can stay
Bro.
healthy and cut down on the interceptions, bro, I'm all in on Dak, because Dak was the fantasy quarterback of mine last year and literally had to give him up simply because of the interceptions that were taking place. It was so many points literally being taken off of the board for you, to where, everything else is great. The touchdowns are fine. He gives you some rushing ability, but to me, it's not worth it for me unless he can prove he can stay on the field.
My hottest take is I'm stretching and I'm reaching for CD Lamb in the first round. I'm not scared. It's like my favorite player to take. He is, to me, is better than Justin Jefferson skill wise. He has a better quarterback throwing him the ball. Like, bro, Justin, I know you know that because you stole CD Lamb from me in the dynasty draft 3 years ago over Justin Jefferson. You were supposed to pick Justin Jefferson, but
I
you snuck
love
CD from me.
CD Lamb coming out of Oklahoma.
He's got a little bit more.
He's a
love
menace.
CD Lamb.
He's like Devontae Adams. He's a young Devontae.
Well, my thing too with Justin Jefferson, which now, I mean, I've kind of eaten my words, but my thing with him, I was so high on Joe Burrow as well that I wasn't sure how much of it was Burrow.
Yeah.
And Jefferson's out here making Kirk Cousins fantasy relevant every week. So, yeah, Justin Jefferson, Jamar, that 2000 and what was it, 2020 LSU team was absolutely insane. So,
Now,
but
really
yeah,
was.
I see what you're saying, and I do agree. CD Lamb I love CD Lamb, and I don't think it's too much of a stretch as far as his ADP. I mean,
It's
his
in the second
ADP is
round.
12.
It's early second.
I mean,
like
if you're playing in a
14.
12-man league, you're getting them at the last pick. So, I mean, to
Yeah,
me,
I'm super
it's
happy.
not
I'm
a stretch
stoked
if
with
you're
that.
taking them at like pick number 8. Now, if you're taking them in the top 5, that's where your homerism showing a little bit. But I mean, shit,
But
dude, if you're high on them and it works out,
with those
nobody
top
can
10
say
picks,
anything.
you're gambling. There's so many injury aspects with those top 10.
Every pick's a
people.
gamble, if we're being
Now-
honest about it.
I'm going to
Oh,
say this.
100%.
So Austin, if you do end up getting someone like CD Lamb early, you have to take Cooks late. you absolutely have to take him. Cooks
Or
is
Cooks,
Mr.
yes.
Consistency.
Yes.
Brandon
Yes,
Cooks,
yes, yes.
you're going to get him at wide receiver fucking 40, ADP 90. People are going to forget that he even plays for the Cowboys by the time that point of the
He's
draft is
burning
happening.
people.
You're going to get value from him. Gallup, I think, is going to be the person that gets hurt the most. And I see Gallup's average ADP is way lower than Cook's. I might take Gallup as well. I just don't expect as much from him week in and week out. He's more of a boomer bust guy in that, like, I have to start someone this week and it's week 9 and there's a bye week. He could end up having a great game that week. But
To
Cooks
me,
is going to
he's
be a lot more
insurance
consistent.
as well because, like you're saying, if you end up and I love that because of where they're slotted, you would easily be able to get all 3 of them. Because
Yeah.
as soon as one of the Brandon Cooks or CD get hurt for whatever reason, Gallup's value instantly shoots up, and he
Yep.
becomes a valuable wide receiver. And I mean,
They don't have
even
Noah
with
Brown. He went to Tennessee, I think. We
even
talked about
Gallup
that a
though,
couple weeks
I
ago.
mean, he had 4
Houston.
touchdowns last year with all of his injuries and stuff. Still 74 targets, 424 yards, only 30 yards per game, but 10 yards per catch. So I mean, he was averaging a first down every time he caught the ball. It was just nagging injuries, missing a game here and there. Couldn't really ever get that chemistry. Dak was out. Like, to me, last season was one of those years for as a Cowboys fan, and I'm sure you feel this way, Austin, to where it's just you kind of just wipe your hands clean of it. It was a wash, and you just move on.
Been happening for 28 years. Just keep on rolling, baby.
You
I
were
know you
told
guys
that
know
the
the
Cowboys
pain.
used to be awesome, and you're
You
just
know
like, I guess that'll happen
Your dad,
eventually.
your dad
Hey.
trapped you. Hey, look at us.
You
You've at least
guys-
got a more recent
Hey,
Super Bowl
32
appearance.
years.
I mean, come
Dolphins
on
have
now.
Dolphins have one playoff win in the past 28 years as well. So
Yeah.
I saw it happen.
next to the Commanders.
So that's really everybody for the Cowboys. It's kind of weird looking at like the size of these lists that the 2 teams that we expect to do really well are super top heavy. They've got big superstars that you want, and if you get them, then awesome. And then if you miss out, there's a couple of little steals like Cooks and Gallup.
Now,
But
I do want to bring up though Turpin being utilized more is going to be incredible. Like his
especially
speed
if you
is
get
nuts.
kick return yards and touchdowns, like if you're in a
Yes.
league that does give you, because that dude gets like I think it was like 28
Well,
or
that's just for the
29 yards
defense.
per like kickoff return last year. That was nuts. He was doing really, really well. That's what I'm saying, Austin. Not a defense where you
But
get the
He doesn't.
if you
use-
get
he
it where
doesn't get
Turpin
used on offense.
physically gets it himself, then that's a player that's worth looking up. He wasn't used last year, but last year was also his first year in that offense, and they
Very
did
true.
use him a lot more after week like 16. He had a couple plays. You know, it's not like they put him in for whole drives, but they definitely drew up some stuff just for him. And he's a fucking athlete, man. I mean, I expect him to at least run one back this year.
He's
Who-
got to.
They've got another wide receiver, Jalen Tolbert. He's
Yeah.
another one.
Oh, that's the
These are
rookie we
dudes that
drafted
are
last
like
year.
that slot role is kind of up for grab. And also, like you're mentioning, Brandon Cooks being a veteran and stuff.
Semi-Fahoko.
He's a perfect guy to start like molding these young guys to, what they're looking for, how to work the inside, the outside, things like that for you. So
I like that.
a lot of it just kind of depends on the health and one of these tight ends stepping up, because I do think Dak, he loves his tight ends and he's going to want that safety blanket. So, I mean, Jake Ferguson, I don't see why he couldn't kind of give you Dalton Schultz type of production, but that's
He
one
looks
of
just
those
like
you
him.
just have to wait and
We
see.
also got Blake Jarwin too, still, right?
Ooh,
Blake Jarwin's what was the backup?
He's why you guys let Dalton Schultz go in the first
Yeah.
place. I liked Jarwin last year. He makes plays. He's definitely like one of those big blocking tight end looking guys that has
Yeah.
like soft enough hands to make a couple catches. But that's Mark Andrews and Mo. I mean, that's like who he is and how he became a great tight end is just being a blocking guy and having soft enough hands to make that like Gronk like catch on the post. You guys done
He's like a
talking about the
vacuum.
Cowboys or? you want to add some?
Never. We can keep going.
They do not
till
have
the end
Blake
of the
Jarwin
podcast.
anymore. So I'm
They
just
don't.
Peyton,
Oh,
it's
that's
Peyton
rough.
Hendershot.
Okay, same person. It's just like copy paste, copy paste. Like
So
It's just
white boys.
just a bunch of big white corn-fed boys out there playing for you.
Right up. They can catch
so
the ball.
for the Giants, they have or who I have is finishing third. I think Commanders they have the worst roster, so it's going to be hard for them to win games. I'm going to make it really
Oh, wait.
simple.
We
One
didn't say
second.
what our
One-
records were going to be.
1 second. If you draft Saquon Barkley, then you don't draft any more Giants players. And if you don't draft Saquon Barkley, then you don't draft any more Giants players. I think if you do that you'll probably have some success.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Well, maybe
I mean,
Jalen Hyatt.
Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt.
Hell yeah, that's
Darren
a
Waller's
sleeper.
been he's
In a
he's
dynasty,
tight
Jalen
end
has
5 right
absolutely
now.
got value. Yeah, that's my problem with it. I mean, that's where he finished last year, and he had some injuries, and the Giants are a much different offense. But like, Danny Dimes has not had any receiver that's been able to be a dominant threat, and I don't know if it's entirely based off of their skill or his, and that's what terrifies me about Waller. We know how good Waller is, but now he's in a place that he's never been, and we don't know if he's going to get fed the same way. Saquon Barkley is a much better running back than Josh Jacobs, in my opinion. Josh Jacobs is awesome. I loved him last year, but he's just a running back. Saquon Barkley is my favorite running back to watch right now. I think he's the best young running back that hasn't gotten paid easily.
See, I think with Daniel Jones, it's more of a matter of it was his first year in Dable's system, and they were more easing him in throughout the year because it was a matter of opportunity. Like 6.8 yards per attempt, 200 yards per game passing, only 15 touchdowns, but only 5 interceptions, 700 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. Like for me, I think you will see Daniel Jones up his value as a passer this year simply because they paid him. He has to.
He's quarterback 14, so you're
But as
getting
far as
value from him.
Waller's the only pass catcher I would take. I maybe would take a flyer on Jalen Hyatt, like you said, in dynasty leagues. But in 1-year leagues, he's more of a guy that you just keep an eye on for the waiver wire.
Exactly.
You try to get an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of production where you try to get him the week before he pops the fuck off, but it's very likely that he's not going to pop the fuck off. I mean, he was your favorite wide receiver going in.
This
so
man
I get
could definitely
the
be
skill.
a Justin Jefferson type dude out there if Daniel
My
Jones could
problem-
just smarten up and just beam it down the field for him.
They're going to use and abuse Saquon Barkley. That's what their offensive plan is going to be this
But
year.
that could totally help out Jalen. Like, say a guy like Saquon in the backfield takes that action.
Not only
away
that, but
from-
Saquon has $1 million extra tied up in incentives. So
Yeah.
as a fantasy owner, that's what you're wanting because he's
yeah.
waiting for that money too. So I mean,
ADP 9 is way late for me. I'm got this guy as my top 5 pick. I want
that's a good
Saquon
call
Barkley.
though. No, it's a good call.
I think that he's had injury concerns, and we can't really think about injuries for the first round because everybody could get hurt in the first round.
mhm.
I think that he finished the year healthy, and he's had a whole off season. He looks healthy now, and he looks like a fucking menace. I'm so excited about Saquon. Of all these people that we've talked about today, he's the only one that's absolutely on my list to try to get in the first round. Like, easy. I'm trying to get him at his average draft position. That's where I think he should go.
Hold on, let me just note that down here for our draft that we all have
For
later.
real.
Okay, so
Alright.
don't let Colby get Saquon because then
Make
he'll
sure
win.
I'm before
and then,
Colby.
Then we'll have
Yeah,
to call
who's your
Colby.
pick? You already gave
We don't
away
want to have to
ours.
call Colby the 3-time. 2 times enough.
Oh yeah.
So
Coach.
now Wandale Robinson, Darius Slayton, I don't even know who Paris is. ADP
Paris
232.7.
Campbell.
Yeah,
Shit. Really?
yeah,
Maybe
Paris
Class.
was he's way down there.
Yeah. So these guys obviously have no value at all during your draft, but all of these guys are going to catch passes come week 1 and week 2. So these are guys that are like last round. Put one of these guys on your team because no one's going to have any value for them at all. I think that Slayton and Waller are probably the two easiest because Darius Slayton has had flashes of being very relevant, even in a fantasy standpoint. So they need someone to catch the ball there. Paris Campbell's shown that he's not really a guy. That's why the Colts let him go in the first place.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Um,
like the only pass catcher I'd be willing to take would be Waller, and that's more of, oh shit, I'm in like the 8th round and I haven't taken a tight end yet. I might need to snag one.
Yeah. And he's ADP 56, so if you get him at something like that, I see a lot of value. Taking him in the 5th round? Fuck no. I'm not taking
No,
him.
that's way too high.
And if
Way too high.
you did get distracted by all this, skill players, and you didn't pick up a quarterback, you're gonna be stuck with Danny Dimes.
Which
And that's-
fantasy wise, it's
That's
not
not a
that
bad call.
You're
That's not a
going
bad
home
call
with
for
me.
your background. Like, for a last couple picks as your backup quarterback, you went early and got honestly,
If you took
I'd
Jalen Hurts early,
yeah.
there's absolutely no reason you would be against taking Daniel Jones late.
Nope. I agree.
Like, so that's my
So-
thing. Like, he gives you enough value with his rushing to where he can still get you 12 to 15 fantasy points. And, like, you're just praying to God the rest of your roster does what they need to and you get out of there.
So, in the hopes of keeping this episode under an hour, let's go ahead and cover the Commanders.
The commies.
Maybe the new Redskins, old Redskins, new Redskins, they're petitioning on it.
They're not
I
going to
do
go back
like-
to that.
Well, they're not going to go back to the Redskins, but they would likely change their
I
name.
wanted the Red Wolves so bad because
Yeah,
there's
we
so
all
many
did.
cool
We
things
all
I
you
don't
did.
can
want
do with
red
that.
anything. I don't want
I didn't
red
mean to
something.
pers-
I think that's so stupid.
I
Like, why not just the
didn't mean a
wolves?
person who didn't want that.
Why not the green wolves then?
Well, because
Because
they're
they
already
don't
the
have
red
green in their color
skin,
scheme.
So like,
They could. It's a new everything. They get to redefine themselves.
Yeah, but that city is defined by the
what's
garnet
wrong with
and
Red
gold.
Wolves though, Colby?
Why
What
does
you
it
got
have
against
to be
Red
red?
Wolves?
But
What you gotta get because they were already the red skins.
Okay, is there a red wolf? Is there a wolf that is a red wolf, or are you just making up something?
Have you ever
because
seen
it
one?
used to be? No.
Okay, but can you
Doesn't mean it doesn't
definitively say
exist.
there is not one in existence?
I don't have that much money in my bank account,
Okay,
but
well-
I'd bet all of it
Well,
that
I'm just-
the red wolves
I'm
don't
just saying.
exist.
Haven't
And
you
that
watched
little,
Twilight?
that little
Jacob
fucking
was almost a
furry,
red wolf.
like koala looking thing is not a red wolf. All right, that's like a
that's
totally
a red
different thing.
A red panda.
Yeah, exactly. So Commanders, Brian Robinson
Redskins.
is probably sorry, dude. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you, you racist. Brian Robinson probably best player on the team.
Oh,
Terry
just
McLaren. I said Commanders and then he said Redskins. And like I was wrong.
I missed
So
it.
I
missed
apologize.
it.
If anything,
Because I was like,
it's
oh my bad, I fucked up.
Washington racial slurs.
There
Thank
we
you.
go. There we go. But yeah, Brian Robinson got shot last year.
Many
Still
men.
had value after. I think that he's probably one of the few players that I see that like has value. Terry and
You
Jahan
really do-
Dotson are
you
the
think
other
they're
two
gonna
that we're
start
gonna
him?
have to discuss.
You think they're gonna start Brian Robinson over Antonio Gibson? They were just using him as a goal line back, punching it in the end zone. I mean, he showed glimpses.
My issue
of
with Brian
he could be
Robinson
like
though is
Kenneth Walker, but
3.9 yards per carry,
Mhm.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like all
They-
the work
well-
he got, he only got it in the end zone twice.
was
Once
shot, bro.
receiving.
he only played a couple games.
He played 12.
No, he got in after like week 5 or 6, so that would
He
make
played
sense.
12 games. I mean, hit 797 yards, so you can't really say much against that. He
The
averaged
Commanders'
66.4
offense
yards per
wasn't doing
carry
much.
or per game, but the yards per carry way too low. The touchdown production, but rookie season. So what are you going to do? Like I do
I
see
think-
value in him as far as a late flyer on a running back and the running back one on his team. But honestly, like where they're going in drafts, Antonio Gibson is right around the same ADP, right around the same rank, and that's because of what he gives you in the passing game.
So
Yeah, Brian
I would
Robinson
definitely
only had
take Brian
he only had
Robinson
12 targets last year. That's not enough.
over
No.
Antonio Gibson though.
Now, Jahan Dotson, you
I'm
did
just he
mention
shows you
only
greatness.
12 games played, but 7 touchdowns.
He was a touchdown machine. I feel like Jahan Dotson really fucked over Terry
He
McLaurin
was.
last year. McLaurin.
He really
Like,
did.
because so many of those like were deep like catches that he would take in for a touchdown, and like it was just opportunities that Terry didn't have. I think that's what scares me about taking either of those receivers this year is like if both of them are on similar like trajectories and Howell still isn't able to do anything. I'm not terrified to take him because of the garbage time opportunity. They're both going to get a lot of targets because they're going to get the ball thrown a lot because they're going to be down a lot.
It's I feel so bad for Terry. It's a one receiver in the
Hey,
league that I would
he
like to see go
resigned there.
anywhere else.
He could have
I
went into
know.
free agency, could have requested a trade. He wanted to stay. I do not feel
It's for
bad for
money.
him.
It's all for
Not
fucking
anymore.
money.
That's why
I
I don't
felt-
feel bad for him.
I felt bad for him until he re-signed. I mean, like,
Yeah, that's why I don't feel bad for him.
You
So,
know what
but
he was doing.
Terry's one of those guys to where if like where does his ADP sitting
Like
at
you
right
can't
now?
actually tell me that they're going to be
they've got
going
him
for a
at
Super
50.
Bowl this year.
50. So
receiver.
he's one of those
Yeah.
guys to where, if you've missed out, if you decided to go like running back, quarterback, tight end, like, and so you're needing like a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3. He's one of those dudes to where if he falls in your lap, you almost have to take him just because of his big playability. I mean, 15.5 yards per catch, still had over 1,000 yards, 77 receptions, 70 yards
Dude.
per game, 5 touchdowns. So I do see where you're saying he's losing his value there, but that's almost because most of his touchdowns, if he wasn't taking it for 40 yards, he wasn't scoring.
Exactly.
And that was the problem.
I don't mean to
The
compare
team
everyone to
can't
Justin
score.
Jefferson, but like this man is definitely better than Justin Jefferson skill
Well,
wise.
so what's the
Route running
reason
wise.
we did CD and now we got Terry Mack? What did Justin Jefferson do to you?
I'm
How
not
did he hurt you?
taking
You know
any.
what?
It's a great comparison. It's someone who everyone's
Show
valuing
me on
super
Baby
high.
Yoda right here where Justin Jefferson touched you.
The ear.
He was up here.
Oh, speaking of Justin Jefferson, though, did you see his little brother? He looks just like him. Oh
Mini
my
JJ,
goodness,
Mini J Jettas.
that is
But we need
wild.
to stop with the Justin Jefferson slander. He's a top 3 wide receiver in the league.
No, 100%, and that's why I'm trying to bring the value of Terry McLaurin and of CeeDee Lamb up to that level.
Athletically, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then he's got Kirk Cousins throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Come on, anyone can do it.
But I'm not fully out on Sam Howell. I am all in on taking Sam Howell very late in the draft as my QB2 because I'm not completely against him. Like Sam Howell at North Carolina showed some athletic ability. He showed that, little Mitch Trubisky-esque of being able to move around the pocket and get outside and get, 10 to 15 yards like he needs to. But I'm not completely out on him of, Sam Howell's awful. I mean, for all I love Taylor Heineke was trash. Like, statistically, Taylor Heineke was not very good. So, I mean, it's not hard to improve
He was
on
scrappy.
that. And they had
Bro, come on.
Taylor Heineke is a fan
He had
favorite.
heart.
He
had
has
heart.
heart. You have all the heart you want in the world. That's not going to make you a better player. Like, it's
Not
just going to
versus
make you have
Patrick
more
Mahomes.
effort. Like, so that's my thing is Sam Howell, like, ability-wise, I don't see much drop-off there for what they were getting. So I don't see why Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson with more games under his belt next year, and even Curtis Samuel, I don't see why they wouldn't have some value next year. Like, I'm just not fully out on the Commanders and all that. To me, like I said, Sam Howell, I think he will have a decent year. Kenny Pickett. If you felt like Kenny Pickett had a decent year last year, I think that's about what you're looking at with Sam Howell.
That's my sleeper, boy.
That's
I think
actually
he's going
not
to blow
a
up this
horrible
year.
call, because Kenny Pickett had too many interceptions, not enough touchdowns, but he also was a solid player across the board, just as like a general quarterback. I had him in the dynasty, and he was like a great little backup. Like he was better than Mac fucking Jones, who had to deal with a lot.
Right up.
And yeah,
Hey, Kenny Pickett and Pickens. That's gonna be a deadly duo over there. You can get them late.
So, just an overall outlook on the Commanders. I mean, I don't really see much value in any of their players other than Terry. I mean, Dotson and Curtis Samuel, those are guys that you're taking as like, more of a later round kind of flyer on. Dotson's going to go much earlier just because of what he showed in the limited games he was in, and rightfully he should. But like you say, I mean, I'm not fully out on Sam Howell, but I can't also go into the season saying I trust him to give all these guys
He's
a
quarterback
fantasy
30.
workload.
So that could literally be your Mr. Irrelevant pick. He can be your
He's going
last
higher than
round.
Tannehill.
Hey, there
It's
you
because
go.
a
just
gamble.
saying.
You know
I'm
what
just
Tannehill's
saying.
giving. Which Tannehill's value should actually jump up some with Hops and Hopkins coming
He's
there.
still quarterback 32 right now. He's the last starter getting drafted.
Under
Tannehill-
Garoppolo.
So to quickly, because we kind of skipped through it here, to quickly backtrack on record predictions. Cowboys, I've got the Cowboys finishing the year at 11-6 at
17,
the worst. 12-5 at the, I'd see that could be their
All right,
ceiling.
Austin.
I got them at 11-6.
Now take the homer
Show me a
out of your
team.
mouth.
No, show me a team. Show me a team.
Take the Eagles.
I don't
mean,
wanna
you
hurt
have
your
play them
feelings.
twice.
I already told you they're going to beat the Eagles twice, and that's their only competition on the schedule. I'm looking at it. They got 49ers, but they got quarterback competition going on. Who knows what's going to be happening?
You got to
Who
stop
knows?
hating on the 49ers. You got to stop hating on them, dude.
I'm not a 49er hater. That quarterback
I'm a
tree.
lot closer to Justin. I think if Philly ends up with 13 or 12 wins, Dallas will be right behind them.
I've
with
got
11.
your 6 losses. I've got your 6 losses right here. New
That's
York
all right.
Jets in week 2.
Oof.
Ew.
San Francisco in October 8th, so week 5. Then I've got you dropping the one in Philly versus the Eagles. Then I've got you dropping possibility, very high possibility. You've got at Buffalo and at Miami back to back. You're not winning both of those games.
Those are easy sweeps. Our defenses will tear your offenses up, boy. We'll win just by our defensive points.
You can't even. All right, we got to stop this. We're going to be here for another hour. Everybody, it's at _. No, it's at Austin _PFP for everyone that wants to rip into all of his predictions. You can catch me at Coach _PFP and Justin at
Hulk _PFP. Come on now.
Yeah,
come on,
butchered
Coach.
That.
At Pro Football _pod on the Twitter channels and at Pro Football Pod on everything else.
Like, comment, subscribe. We like the comments, guys. We want to give you some more information. We know that you're a bunch of hungry little baby birds. We got the information for you, so don't worry. You guys got anything else to say to the people?
Not much. Just
how about them boys?
Visit TulsiRose.com. Help out the the people. Get your teas and your accessories, and just do it like you're supposed to.
And you should have tea time every night. It's a great night.
Y'all want AFC North next week? We'll tackle the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, and Browns.
I like it.
I thought we were gonna stay on that East Coast with the Dolphins and the Jets and the Patriots.
No,
we're gonna save them for a little later. We're gonna save them.
So AFC North sounds like a plan.
East side.
AFC North, you can wear your Joe Burrow jersey next week, Austin.
Hell yeah, brother.
Love you guys.
Who dey?
Peace.
Bye.